Here's Johnny.
I'll be back.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Alright, and welcome back to Box Office Pulp for the second part of our Thanksgiving episode. Last time, Mike and Hiro got to go about their lists. This time, it's down to MB and myself. MB, do you want to...
Impossible.
God damn it.
He's got me there. It is impossible. So thanks for coming in. Goodbye, everyone. Skyfall.
Sleep now. I'm doing that.
Open up with
This
the
has
same
been
joke.
MB disproves things.
MB does science. He's talking to Bill Nye. Impossible.
Baking soda volcano.
Can we please get on with the list?
Well, fine. Kill all the fun. MB, do you want to kick things off here? No.
Take your time.
He's getting in a van right now and just driving away.
Oh, he left.
He's continuing Skyfall.
MB, are you there?
I heard some distortion in his voice whenever he spoke earlier.
Oh, the Mothman has him. God damn it, MB. God damn it.
I really need to rewatch the Mothman Prophecies because I swear to God, there's one part in that movie where they mention the street I was raised on.
Now I want to rewatch it.
Right? Like, I swear, like, at one time I had it on at midnight and they were like, and the call came from Lynn Hill Road. And I'm like, I'm on Lynn Hill Road.
You're the Mothman.
No.
But I have no idea if that's true or not, or if I just made it up or I misheard him. So I have to just track down that movie to see if I'm being narcissistic or not.
Were you, like, scared or something?
No, I was amazed. I'm like, we're on the map. We're somebody now.
What if I'm the Mothman? You look in the mirror and you're a giant Mothman.
I fly out to a bridge and knock it over. 3 cars go in the water. So anyways,
Okay, so what happened?
we started talking about the Mothman prophecies.
In that, like, 30 seconds you were gone, we had an entire conversation about the Mothman prophecy.
So
Apparently Cody's the Mothman, so.
So hopefully the Mothman prophecies is on your list, MB.
Now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe. By the way, Anna Kendrick said knowing is half the battle in that Nerdist episode. It was
I
amazing.
know.
Anyway, let's get back to the fun of the show.
Wait, did you cut out or did you walk away?
What me?
MB.
Yeah, you.
It said the call was like there were internet connection issues,
Yeah, you left.
but it's like it was acting like it was Mike, which I was like,
Okay.
well,
Yeah, we were sitting here like, MB, go ahead and read your list. And then it was just silent. I'm like, well, I guess you don't have to.
I hope you leave that in.
I refuse.
No, you can't make me. You're not my dad.
Impossible.
Thought you were just doing the most complex Skyfall joke ever. You just leave your house.
the most complex sky falling. But okay, maybe I should actually get to my list.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
I mean, what?
Yeah, because it's like my list, the list of 5, Holy Grail. No, I base my list off of movies that are, to me, the most rewatchable.
Okay.
Like they have a large rewatchability factor for me. First film on it is Halloween, which
The night
the
he came
original.
home.
Which MB
Yes.
only watches on Halloween.
Yes.
That's when it's magical.
It's the most festive thing I can imagine for that time of year. But no, for me, it established the rules of horror that nobody has followed. It's strange. First of all, you go away from that movie is the prototypical slasher movie, but you go away from that movie thinking you've seen a bloodbath, and there's hardly any blood in it.
Yeah, there's like just a few drops of the stuff. It's pretty scarce on blood, really.
Yeah, and that really encapsulates what I love about the movie is that it's less is more, which You know, you barely see the killer throughout the movie. You know, he's always in a car or he's always in like the background. But then by the time he really hits, and it leaves an impact that it basically defines the entire movie. Is this one barely even 20-minute attack towards the end of the movie where he's finally revealed. And I just love that because another thing about it was when I was a kid, Michael Myers was the most terrifying thing to me that I've ever imagined.
Yeah.
Just because of that mask is like
Same here.
something about it is just unsettling.
It's
really
eerily,
upset.
Very dude.
yeah, it's just eerily
Yeah.
similar to Shatner. It scares children.
It's Captain Kirk.
You're
He's
such a
going
big
to fuck me,
Babylon
isn't he?
5 fan.
I shot him 6 times.
And you can't go wrong with Donald Pleasance just eating the scenery out of from everybody.
I mean, he established his own character type into slasher movies. Like he helped make the Loomis character a thing.
He created the
And it's
Ahab.
just, yeah, pretty much. I was trying to avoid the reference, but
We all want
yeah.
it.
And also, it's very just down to earth. Like you believe these characters exist. You believe this is actually happening, and that's really the most horrifying part of it. I mean, it starts out in the beginning with a scene that highlights, you know, Michael Myers' insanity, and then a scene after that which highlights his escape. But once it goes into Haddonfield, it's more of an examination of teenage culture at the time in the 70s, and just evolves into something else entirely, which I love. It's and not only that, but for some reason it's just fun to watch. It becomes less horrific and more fun, just because I don't know, maybe it's a part of the time, maybe it's a part of just the style in which it was made. I'm not sure, but it's just for me, I can watch it anytime.
Yeah, it's probably the most, next to Hellraiser, the most rewatchable horror movie I can think of.
It's
Yeah.
so simple. It's just such a simple
Yes.
concept.
It's essentially just babysitter slasher B movie that just happened to have an amazing director.
Some of
Yeah.
the kills, though, in that
And-
movie are just so effective. Like, you know, the one guy Michael picks up with one hand and stabs through the chest and pins him to the wall. Or my favorite, when they're, you know, one of the girls goes into the car and she sits there for a second and realizes the windows are fogged up from the inside. And she realizes,
And she
like,
looks at the camera.
yeah, she realizes just as Michael Myers goes for her. I mean, that scene really works for me. I think that's so effective, even though it's not really over the top or that violent compared to a lot of other things out there.
Yeah.
What's always struck me about that movie is the way they build up Michael as though he's this supernatural force of nature, even though he's just a guy with a knife, so he shouldn't be that scary. But in that movie, he is the fucking angel of death.
Well, they build him up so much, and then he goes down immediately when he gets stabbed by Laurie with, like, the knitting needle in the neck, which always makes me laugh a little bit, but it is scary
Yep,
when he
He's
comes
defeated
back.
by
always get-
femininity.
But he always gets up. And
That's it.
in the end, technically, he isn't defeated.
No, he's just delayed.
Yeah, he's out there. Like it's one of the most insanely awesome cliffhangers I think I've ever seen in a horror movie. Just
Yeah.
because it's not like a Freddy or Jason situation where it's like it's clearly supernatural. Michael is much more ambiguous about it.
He's just unrelenting force of evil.
And I think my favorite scene is just when he's finally revealed. When Laurie finally finds out that all of her her friends are dead, and he's just standing there in the background, slowly creeping up and waiting. Just that few seconds between when he goes after her with a knife is just something about that is just so haunting, and yet so telling because he's just methodical. You know, he's there to do what he set out to do, and he succeeds.
Yeah, and it's so creepy too because he never says anything. You just hear that heavy breathing through the mask. Or when he looks at a person, he kind of tilts his head, and it's a little canine, but it's not. Doesn't seem like there's a human underneath the mask.
Yeah, he's so detached from humanity. It's great.
One of my favorite stories is Carpenter talking about one of the scariest moments for audiences watching it for the first time was just when Michael Myers was unmasked, and it was a normal-looking dude underneath, and that caused gasps in the audience.
Only
It's a
ugly
face.
people are killers.
But they just expected him to be like not look so normal. And it was the fact that he just looked so normal was scary to people.
Yeah, which is in itself ties into the beginning where it's revealed that, this point of view shot that's been killing his sister is turned out just to be a normal little boy.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the biggest twists, I think, in modern cinema. It's just that opening scene. I mean, I just love it on so many levels. For my money, probably the best horror movie ever done, aside from Jaws.
It's hard to beat.
And
Yeah.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah.
Good classic times.
I'm just trying to
So-
imagine Quint fighting Michael Myers. Michael's just biting his legs off.
We got another barrel on him.
Michael Myers is floating face down in the water.
This Quint getting drunk and telling the story about how his sailor friends were eaten alive by
Slasher movie.
an ocean full of Shatners.
Doll's eyes.
Hey, we delivered the bomb.
Why do those two speeches fit together so well? Those black doll's eyes.
I'm just
Devil's
saying,
eyes.
you need to intercut them.
It's all conspiracy. They wanted us to put the two movies together someday.
It becomes Voltron.
Oh no, no more
Okay.
Voltron. Movie. What's your next movie, MD?
Okay, my next movie is Highlander, which I have a weird relationship with the movie because for the longest time,
Hold on, you're breaking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound terrible.
what do I sound like now?
Yeah, you're still breaking up.
Terrible.
You sound like you're being sucked into Tron.
I'm going into the bridge.
Wait, you're being sucked into the Guytron?
Oh, God, Bruce Boxleitner, no.
Stop stealing my popcorn! Ah.
Bruce Boxleitner hungry. Doesn't even sound like him.
MB Flynn, where are you now?
Do you still want me to design the perfect sandwich?
Why did you do that so quickly?
And how did you not go with, do you want me to still be Batman? That's what either of us would have went with.
Is MB going, yeah?
That is my favorite
It's
part of that
casual.
movie. Yeah?
Casual Flynn. MB Flynn lives.
God damn it. Olivia Wilde would still be there.
Hey, how do I say now?
Still working. That gives us more time for Tron jokes. God damn it.
MB rescues Alex Headland at the end of Lion Club.
Bow now, chicka 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 bow now.
Score by Flexopunk.
People bow to him. He's just, instead of the hood, he's wearing Mercedes Batman. He just touches the floor and everything lights up.
This is all going in the episode. I hope you know that. MB's turn will just be like 20 minutes of us talking about Tron.
Tron Legacy, there's another good movie.
I love Tron Legacy.
Oh my god. I'm fucking crying. Jesus Christ.
So how you
Yeah.
doing
Okay, is
there?
my connection has my connection stabilized?
A little.
A little better, but not great. Yeah, I think you sound okay right now.
Just keep going. Just talk fast.
Okay.
Highlander.
My relationship with the movie was kind of weird because up until I think like 2 years ago, I really didn't have any impression on the movie because I had never really seen it all the way through. But it was one of those movies that was rare in that it was from a time that I never really grew up with it, so I never really had that kind of nostalgia factor for it. But whenever I saw it, it held up. Like, it really held up for me. And for, like, especially 80s movies, like cult classics, like sometimes I watch those and I'm really not as impressed by them as a lot of people are. But this one, I fell in love with absolutely from the beginning. it was just something about it. It's just so incredibly simple. It's a movie about, two immortals in modern times about to go off and fight for the final time to claim a prize.
Prize.
And
It's
neither
so much-
of the men are Jet Li.
Yeah, but it's so much more than that because it's like it's intercut between the Scottish Highlands, Connor McLeod's life, just discovering he's an immortal, and then there's intercut a couple of short scenes where he's in the past, like in colonial times and World War II, and
Busted
you get a lot.
Nazis.
Yeah, you get a lot of insight into his character, but at the same time, it's like he's just so completely charming. Like it's Christopher Lambert's it's his breakout role, and you can tell why. And Clancy Brown as the Kurgan is one of the greatest on-screen villains I've ever seen.
I'm in disguise.
He's just such a classic movie villain, and he's so like nasty about it.
Of course you are.
There's a scene of him just assembling his sword that is the most amazing thing I think I've seen.
Assembling his sword and then fucking a hooker.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Candy.
Of course you are.
I'm obsessed with the composition of that shot. It's like something out of a comic book.
The movie itself is actually very comic book-esque because it's almost like a mini series where you meet the main character, it's set up, and then the big villain is sort of spread throughout until it builds up to this amazing climax where what essentially happens is he gets the prize. He learns everything, he knows everything. As
He's propelled by wires.
yes,
Just ignore the wires.
yes,
Ignore
just
the
ignore the
wires.
wires.
He sees everything. He knows it's just wires.
Also, it's a Scottish movie with Sean Connery playing a Spaniard.
An Egyptian Spaniard.
Who's like the most amazing mentor character in existence.
With clearly a Scottish accent.
And a tan.
He's not Spanish. He's Egyptian.
Ramirez.
And it's just a movie. Essentially, you could basically boil it down to a movie about people cutting other people's heads off. But there's just something that it has a charm to it. It's a great, just straight up action movie.
It's like a sword and sorcery movie.
Yeah, but set in modern times.
Yeah. Or the 80s. And it has a score by Queen, by the way.
Yes. This movie was so good that Queen saw it and immediately wrote the entire soundtrack.
One of my favorite things is Queen was supposed to write one song for the movie. And they were shown a screening of it. Special screening for them because they were writing that song. They loved it so much they wrote songs on the way back from the screening in a cab.
Freddie
About
Mercury
all their
was
favorite
a fan of
scenes.
the Kurgan.
They wrote
He
a
probably
metal
thought
song.
he was hot.
They wrote a metal song about the Kurgan.
One of their only metal songs ever.
It's so awesome. Who wants to live forever, MD?
Indeed. I mean, it's a classic on so many levels, and I just, for a movie that I never grew up with, it feels like a movie I've always known, and I love it. I love it for that. There can be only one.
I knew it had to come at some point.
Now
But,
for number 3.
Yes. Before my connection issue resurfaced. By the way, has my sound quality
We're
improved?
good.
Oh yeah, crystal clear.
Okay. The third on my list is actually, it's kind of a weird choice because, I chose this based on rewatchability, and this is an insanely recent film, going back to, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. But it is a movie that, with time, I've come to think of as cinematic perfection. Like the story is the tightest story I've ever seen. The characters are all very well done. The acting is superb. And it's just a great concept in of itself. And the movie I'm talking about is Inception.
Enough said.
The number 4.
But no, people talk a lot about Christopher Nolan's work with The Dark Knight. And, I love The Dark Knight. I don't think many people don't, but this to me is far and away his best film. Like, it's probably going to be looked back on as his masterpiece because really it's a movie that shouldn't work in a lot of ways. And especially as well as it does, because it deals with the concept of dreams. And it's not really explained like how this technology is possible or why, but you totally buy into it like pretty much the second that it's introduced in that way. It takes something that Nolan isn't very Nolan's movies aren't very familiar with, like suspension of disbelief, because everything in a lot of his movies revolve around the concept of sort of a realistic, tone or take on things.
You threw up in your mouth a little bit when you said that, didn't you?
But except for The Prestige. The Prestige is very much a fantasy concept, but Inception.
Or David Bowie creates clones of Hugh Jackman using science.
Well, that's the most realistic part of it. But Inception, for me, I can't explain really what makes it so good. It's just I think what it is that everything is put into a pot and blended in a way where it's like all of the components make a whole. It's so much more than a lot of films I've seen.
It happens really rarely, but every once in a while you're watching a movie and clearly like every cylinder's firing.
Yeah.
Just watching everyone coming together and doing work so well. It's just like complete magic.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody at 11.
Yeah, it has some of the best CG I've ever seen in a movie, like the best special effects. It has the cinematography is gorgeous in that movie, and of course the acting is great. Leonardo DiCaprio is the main guy. He plays a believable agent, but you also have with him Tom Hardy, who is great,
Just making love to you with his eyes.
You just want to
Pretty
get
much.
lost in his lips.
Yeah, pretty much. And, you have Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Making love to you with his eyes.
Getting lost in his
Fast.
ponytail.
Dress, might I add, entirely like someone out of the 20s.
As he does.
Yes. Slick black hair, the vest, everything. And it's just something that comes together so well. I can't really find any fault with it. Like, I can't find many fault with it, just to me, in any of its execution. Like, I think it's just one of the most well-made movies I've ever seen in my life.
There's so many iconic images from the movie that are just going to become part of pop culture. Like, the top that never topples or does it. Just the hallway fight, those kind of things we're just going to have for a long time. Even, the Inception noise. Those are just going to stick around with society for a whole while, I think. And looking back at the actors, I think we kind of glossed over Cillian Murphy, who kind of gets a thankless role, as one of the lesser characters, but he is so important to the whole plot and, the theme of the movie. And I think he does an excellent job in what's kind of a, forgettable role otherwise.
Yeah.
It's a thankless role, but a pivotal one.
And his character arc is actually very well handled.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a lot of the characters in the movie get a full character arc. Like, Cobb gets one. His wife, played by Marion Cotillard, I'm blanking on her name is Mal.
Ellen.
Yeah. Ellen.
I thought you were trying to think of Ellen Page's name. I'm sorry.
No. But
Drew jumped the gun there.
I want to talk about Ellen Page, okay?
Ellen Page does a good job in it. Like to put it in Batman terms, she's sort of like the Robin of the group. But
As far as you put it in Batman terms.
Well, yeah.
Ellen Page would make a good Robin. Shut up.
But
I didn't say she wouldn't.
Stop fighting, you two. Don't make me break you up.
This podcast is finished.
I'm putting an end to your schemes.
Box Office Pope no more.
But also the score by Zimmer is just God. Like you could basically put that under any movie and make it seem more epic.
It's true. You should try that.
Yeah.
I'm impressed just by Nolan made a van slowly tipping over into something epic, just like through the use of music, good, the slow motion footage, something that's not all that exciting, just a van kind of toppling over, is shown about 3 different times, but it's still very dramatic.
The third act of the movie is a van tipping over. What I love so much about the movie is just the simplicity of the concept of just, let's do a heist movie inside somebody's head. Like, it's one of those ideas that you think of when you're 15. That would be the greatest movie ever, and then you forget about it. But Nolan actually made that movie.
Crazy British bastard.
Yeah, I remember watching Inception in theaters, though, and just being completely blown away by the hallway fight. When gravity's completely flipped and people are running along the ceilings. Oh my god. I saw that and
The action scenes in that movie is great.
That entire
Kung Fu, Gordon
sequence.
Levitt.
That entire sequence is like it's intercut with several things going on at once, and it completely works because they're going through several, layers of dreams. There's the famous line, we have to go deeper.
And then it becomes a James Bond movie at one point.
Yeah, which is like, that's where all the Nolan for Bond talk really comes from. It's just the idea
The
that this
fucker is
could,
obsessed with James Bond.
yeah, this movie works on so many levels, like so many different genres it pays kind of an homage to, but maybe not intentional. It just kind of works that way.
Yeah.
Which is what I love is like you take away from this movie like your own perspective on things. Like even the ending is left to that effect where it's so ambiguous where it's like, is it a dream or is it not a dream? And, it's really left up to you to decide.
One of the things I love about the movie, just from like a writing standpoint, is that it gives you exposition, but in like a dream way, where you don't realize you're getting exposition until halfway through it. And you just realize a character's literally just been talking, explaining something for a good 10 minutes. But you just started in the middle of it like a dream. And you don't even realize you were even being talked to. And you learned all this information without even realizing it.
There's also something in it that's kind of a weird parallel to another movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio.
You're talking about Titanic.
Yes, exactly.
I think Leo is only doing movies now, or he may have resulted in the death of his wife. And he constantly has visions of her.
Well, I think Christopher Nolan killed his wife and has been trying to confess to the murder for years.
Why won't anyone listen to me? I did it. I
I
buried
just
her
want
under
to
the
reveal the
floorboard.
secret.
By the way, if you love Inception, and since I'm the only one who ever mentions anime, and probably ever will, watch Paprika,
Paprika is genius.
which Nolan fully admits to being a gigantic influence on Inception. And if you watch Paprika, you can totally see it. It's like an anime version of Inception.
Pretty much. With more cute anime chicks.
And nudity.
Yeah, that was the one thing was missing.
Yeah, a weird butterfly shedding of skin nudity. Anyway.
But yeah, Inception, closest in my mind to cinematic perfection, I think. Just in the concept of like something that is cinematic.
Modern day classic.
Yeah.
Good exit.
Now the fourth movie on my list, no, I can't focus.
Go on, MB, go on.
The Mask of Zorro.
Awesome.
Which when people talk about superhero movies or movies where it's definitely like a protagonist who wears a mask, really all they point to for sort of making the genre respectable is, The Dark Knight or, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies or, a couple here and there, but they don't really give credit to The Mask of Zorro, which in my mind is the closest thing to a superhero Oscar picture that I think I've ever seen. Just because it's done like an Oscar-worthy movie. Like the cinematography is great in it. There's action, but it's all very almost understated to a point until you get into the sword fighting, when it just becomes like one of the greatest sword fighting movies you've ever seen. Also, it's just a great statement on, legends and sort of what Zorro as a character represents, which is fighting for freedom, and sort of what happens when your icons die, like how sort of the I'm trying to think of the sort of the pursuit of freedom is sort of in disarray after the legend has been taken out of the equation. It's also a great, fantastic mentor-apprentice relationship between Zorro, the elder Zorro, who's played by Anthony Hopkins, and the newer
Mexican Anthony Hopkins,
one. Yes.
who was also an Egyptian.
Amir.
They're very similar characters in a way, but yeah, I've always had a childhood connection to this because I don't know, it's something about the Zorro character has always struck with me. I don't know why, because he's really kind of an understated pulp hero.
He's Mexican Batman.
Yeah, I mean, he was the prototypical Batman along with the Shadow, but I don't know. I like the idea of like a simplistic character like that, like a simplistic vigilante character, set in a period. This movie treats it with such respect and such class, I would say, that it's really just one of the best of its era. Like, it's just one of the, I don't know, like, as far as superhero movies go, it's never really brought up that much, but I feel like it's one of the best of the entire genre.
Yeah, people act like Batman Begins invented the serious reboot, but, Mask of Zorro did it, like, almost a decade before.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it takes the concept of a superhero and it makes it secondary, a lot like sort of the Batman movies under Nolan do. Like I said, just more what I think of when I think of like Oscar-worthy movies. Just because it does that, but it does it with a character like Zorro. And something about that in and of itself is like just awesome to me.
It treats the legacy of Zorro dead seriously.
Sort of a lot like what Martin Campbell did with James Bond in GoldenEye.
Yeah, and this is like a Martin Campbell pretty much fresh off GoldenEye too. So
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, one of his best, and Antonio Banderas is just great in the role.
Classic Banderas.
Yes,
oh man,
sexy man.
well,
Well,
90s
there's kind
Banderas was the best.
He was,
That was the Banderas that fucked Selma Hayek.
and it's always awesome to me to think of Anthony Hopkins dressed as Zorro, going around fighting people.
Yeah, except in wide shots where he's clearly played by a skinny actor.
Yes, exactly. Even when he's like facing fully to the camera.
And it's kind of racist because he's clearly like wearing makeup, so he has a darker complexion. He's essentially in Spanish face.
Spaniard face.
Which is one step, farther than fucking Connery did. I mean, he still has a British accent, but what can you do?
Yeah. I also think it's got a great love story. It's got a great villain. I mean, it's got a lot of things going for it, and it doesn't get the respect it deserves, in my opinion.
90s Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh, yes. The reason Michael Douglas married her.
I still love that story. Michael Douglas just watched that movie and said, "Bring me this woman."
And it happened.
Did he say it while sitting on top of a tower or something?
A gerbil. That brought the mood down.
Wow.
Money never sleeps.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to bring us back.
So, MB,
But,
you have more of a list.
Professor Flexo.
That was a beautiful, beautiful discussion on the Mask of Zorro. That was awesome. You put us all to shame.
You really did.
Damn you, Zorro, man.
God damn it.
Anthony Hopkins in Spaniard face just runs at you. But no, I've got one more movie on my list. And this movie, I'm sure it's going to be no surprise to anyone. Certainly not Mike. I'm sure he's already got jokes prepared. But this movie is my favorite movie of all time. it is a movie that when I think back to it, I know for a fact I watched more than any other movie that I ever owned. It's amazing that I still have the VHS and it didn't burn out. By the way, that I just vigorously just watched it like every single time I could. To me, it still holds up.
With these big lead-ups, I keep imagining you're just going to end it with, and that movie is The Swan Princess.
I was going to go with Tootsie.
Oh,
or he's going to really disturb us and go with Taboo. Like, Jesus Christ, MB.
The Brave Little Toaster.
Hey, man, fuck you. That's a good movie.
It is. It is. I'm not disagreeing.
Beautiful.
But my favorite movie of all time, Tim Burton's Batman.
Shocking twist.
And the thing is that this is the movie that introduced me not only to Batman, but to superhero characters in general, and made me a lifelong fan of both. Like, this movie helped define a large part of my personality. To this day, I will never get tired of it. Like it's just, it has that effect on me where I could watch it any day of the week, multiple times, and be game for it again, because it's so well done in so many aspects, but at the same time, I also know it's not a perfect movie. If you made like a list of every single Batman movie, I don't think this would come first in a lot of lists, just because like on a technical aspect, they weren't working with a very high, like they were working with a high budget, but they kind of had budget cuts and a lot of production problems.
Tim Burton was insane.
Not the least of which, they had a writer's strike at the time, and they kind of rewrote the entire ending based off of what the producer saw in, like, Phantom of the Opera.
That would explain the tower.
To be fair, that was also Jack Nicholson, who also saw Phantom of the Opera with him. And they both thought that was a fascinating story.
And that's the most amazing part about this movie. Jack Nicholson cut, like, the biggest Hollywood deal out of it that has ever happened. Like, he got a percentage of the profits, and it just happened to be the biggest movie of 1989.
He is a genius.
Yes, he is. But what I really love about this movie is that it takes the character of Batman, and in a movie that's supposed to reintroduce him to the masses after the Adam West movie, after the Adam West, like, TV show and movie, what it does is that it picks up, like, mid-career of Batman, and it tells a story in that of itself, which is kind of a simple story, really, in that it's a story about him, having to bring a woman into his life, and he can't because, he's Batman. And that's really what the entire plot hinges on, is that story. And not only that, but the introduction of the Joker, which is, in itself, provides a lot of great moments. But it's also just on a technical level, like, it's got an amazing set design. Gotham City in that movie is, if it weren't for the animated series, I would say it's my defining Gotham City. Batmobile has never looked better. The suit is great. I think I wish more artists in the comics actually do the suit the way that it appears in that movie. It's got, one of the most unlikely choices for Batman becoming one of the best choices. For
Mr. Mom.
Yes. And Beetlejuice.
It's really impressive because Michael Keaton is an eyebrow actor, and they took away his eyebrows.
Yeah.
It took away how he feels.
I mean, the Danny Elfman score, too, it's so fantastic. You associate that musical cue with Batman, the Batman theme.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, like, which medium you're taking it. Like, it's comics, it's the television shows. Actually, it'd be interesting to intercut the Danny Elfman score underneath the Adam West series, but...
It's probably been done.
It has to exist.
Probably. I would think. But, you hear that music and it's Batman. And not only that, but like, it's kind of defined Danny Elfman's career in a way.
Dilly, 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 bum, 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 bum. Oh, oh.
He'll never get away from the doodly doodly, no matter how many scores he makes.
Weird science.
Well, this went down a weird path.
But I think, like, anybody listening to this probably has a story of the first time they ever watched Batman.
My earliest memory of seeing Batman was with my father, and I was maybe about like 3 or 4 at the time, and I just remember I didn't know I had no idea what to think, because this was like the most advanced thing I had ever seen, because at that time I was probably used to like cartoons and preschool shows like Sesame Street, and then all of a sudden Batman sleeping at the screen, like, and it's like the most dark version, like visually it's one of the most darker versions of the character.
Yeah, it's so weird to think that this was like a major budget blockbuster. Like, it's just not. Other movies of the time weren't designed like it at all.
No,
The movie just looks like a suicide note.
it does.
Whoa.
Oh,
Ooh.
Oh.
Well, that was in bad taste.
too soon, hero. No, just everything about the movie I respect immensely, even though I know it has a ton of problems. Like, I know it's contrived that Jack Nicholson turns out to be the murderer of Bruce Wayne's parents, but for some reason that has never bothered me in the movie.
Listen, I don't think that's actually contrived. I think it's built completely on top of the Batman and Joker relationship. I think it's not contrived at all. Just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just something about the movie. It just works. Like, you accept it as logic because it flows so well with the rest of the movie. Like, what it does is it essentially sets up the third act, and by then it's just action, and I love that part of it. But at the same time, it's also like the most 80s movie I think I can remember, because it has that soundtrack by Prince, which is actually used within the movie to great effect.
W, X, Y, and Z.
I mean, Party Man, I can't even think of a better movie like song.
It's the whole idea that the Joker does things to the music of Prince.
And it's another movie where it's like the artist was asked to write one song and came back with like a full soundtrack.
To be fair, Prince is insane, so you
Yeah.
should have expected that.
Yeah.
They actually probably expected that and just said, just tell him to write one song. Thank you for the soundtrack, Prince. No,
They had to talk very slowly.
no, we're not going to go drink those waters. Just leave now.
No, we don't want to watch Tower.
And Nicholson's a huge Prince fan, which makes it even funnier.
I mean, it is an insanely, like, just based around marketing movie. In a way, like, it's really a lot about materialism, just because a lot of it is based around 80s culture, even though it kind of paints itself as like a 30s movie. It just, for some reason, I buy it. I buy all of it. That movie is the reason that I love Batman as much as I do, so, yeah, definitely my favorite movie of all time.
And it's cool, too, because, like you just mentioned, it looks like it's aimed for the 30s, and it ends up just giving the movie a kind of timeless feel. It doesn't necessarily feel dated, it just feels like a movie that's hard to place. So you can still watch it today and enjoy. And I think we're forgetting the most important part of the movie's success. Knox.
The greatest side character since another side character in that movie, Bob.
Bob the Goon.
They should have fought.
For supremacy.
For control of Gotham City.
I think Knox also exists in the Nolan films, and he dresses exactly the same and still acts like a newspaper reporter from the 20s.
We just never see him.
Yeah.
In my mind, he left town right before Batman Returns and took Vicky Vale with him, which explains why neither of those characters are around.
Makes sense.
They absconded to Miami.
He actually became Green Arrow.
He left on a grant from the King of the Wicker People.
He moved to Japan.
He used Bruce's money to become Lex Luthor.
He used that grant to great effect.
So that was MB's list.
All right, we're in the home stretch, folks. We're down to my list. I did something a little different. I looked at this year, 2012, and kind of picked out 5 movies I thought were just really interesting films that came out this year. Number 1 on my list, we already mentioned this, Chronicle. A lot of people kind of give this movie crap for being, the American hero, but I don't know. It's great for me just because it's that new twist on the superhero origin story. We get that all the time, every time they reboot a superhero, they always have to do the origin story. So it was nice in this one for them to actually do it, but do it in a way where it feels satisfying. And you'd never see anyone become a superhero, halfway through the film. So the structure, I think, really benefits from it.
It also seems like one of those movies where it's like, it takes control of a very popular subgenre, which is the found footage thing.
Yeah.
And takes complete advantage of it.
Yeah, that's the next thing I want to talk about. I mean, first, I love found footage stuff. It really helps sell the illusion to me. So this really did make it feel very real world. And it helped too because the main character can levitate the camera around himself. So it gives him a little bit of extra freedom when they're filming things.
That was a genius plot device they had.
That's the worst thing. You can tell it's a plot device, but it works so well you don't want to complain about it.
Like, please move the camera around.
Yeah, that's one thing that does get a little annoying in found footage where it's like, no, I'm just going to film my feet for 5 minutes because I can't figure out how to turn the camera back up.
It's amazing that nobody had thought to do a found footage superhero movie before.
Yeah, it kind of seems like a no-brainer in the end. And I mean, just the real world takes on stuff, like one of the characters, his superhero costume is basically just a stolen fireman's outfit, which actually really works.
Especially because that's his big supervillain moment.
Yeah.
We just got a gas mask and an axe, and he's just fucking up the town.
But I mean, the way he wears it, it does look like something, Superman would wear. If he just changed the colors a little bit, I enjoyed that. And the tone was all over the place, but another thing that I found enjoyable. A large percentage of the movie is spent being pretty funny. It's these kids kind of messing around with superpowers. If I ever got superpowers, it's the first thing I would do. Just start, using my telekinesis to move people's cars in parking lots.
Yeah, the first half of that movie is a buddy movie.
Yeah, which is so weird when it gets into the very dark climax where all these people start dying and there's abuse going on.
The most over-the-top abusive father ever.
Yeah, I think I need to dial it back a little bit.
Let's imagine you going up to an abusive father. You need to dial it back some.
Hey, my buddy, you're coming off high on the douche-o-meter.
No need to make it physical, guys.
Punches you. I really need to see Chronicle. I plan to see it actually
It's good.
pretty soon.
Yeah, it's impressive just because the budget was so low for that movie, but they did so much. And the flying scenes are so impressive considering, the restrictions on the budget and everything.
It's like, I keep hearing that it's basically the most Superman movie that isn't actually a Superman movie.
It does
It's
feel
weird.
a little bit like that.
It is weird to think that Chronicle and Hancock are the only movies in recent times where we've seen 2 flying superheroes battle.
Yeah.
Matrix Revolutions.
That's not. It's just. But just no.
One of the things that's taking me, one of the reasons it's taking me so long to see Chronicle is because Max Landis is kind of a tool.
Yeah, I listened to his Nerdist episode today. He shouted the entire time.
Yeah,
He's like the son of John Landis and Quentin Tarantino.
Well, he is well, won't go into it.
He is the son of John Landis,
But yeah, I do want to watch the movie now that I'm okay with the fact that he's a tool.
Yeah.
I really want to see it though.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. If you love superhero movies, you're going to enjoy it. If you think found footage is a really interesting way to explore cinema, this is a cool new way to do it.
I love both those things.
Fantastic. Some people complain about the third act for the fact that to record all the action, one of the characters basically takes control of all the iPhones and stuff in the town and just circles them around himself. I don't know. It didn't bother me much, but I know a lot of people just get pissed right off of how forced it felt.
Well, that's always kind of a thing with found footage movies anyway, is that you kind of have to let those things go sometimes in order to enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It also made for a pretty cool image.
I enjoyed it. We were able to get a good view of everything that was happening and some variety. So I thought it worked. All right. The next movie on my list. This one came out not too long ago. It might still be in theaters, actually. Sinister. I don't know if any of you guys managed to get a chance to see it.
I've heard good things, and that's so surprising because the movie, when I saw it, like the TV ads and stuff, looked like it was just going to be like one of those typical horror movies that comes out around Halloween and doesn't really have anything about it. Like, it doesn't have much substance or anything, so I just kind of glossed over it. But then the reviews started coming out, and it was like, holy crap, this movie might actually be good.
I was surprised considering one of the producers on it is Massa Worm from Ain't It Cool News. But I think it was just, I know the producer, so they gave me a credit kind of deal. That makes it okay.
But no, it's definitely not the most complex story out there, which I think works in its advantage. It's definitely a slow build. You don't have a lot of unnecessary jump scares. It's not like Ethan Hawke owns a cat in this movie that randomly jumps out 3 times in the movie and screeches at you.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. It's amazing. The movie...
There are rules.
You have to follow those. But,
What do you think? What, you think this is the never-ending story or something?
I mean, I enjoyed it just because it is simple, but very effective. The whole movie is basically building this case for what's going on. So you slowly get all these different puzzle pieces until the whole thing makes sense. And for some people, it might be a little too slow. I mean, they never really speed along, and sometimes you're sitting there like, okay, well, I know where this is heading. But just the atmosphere that they managed to build, it's fantastic. There's a lot of parts that don't seem like they should be scary, but they're really disturbing. They last. Like, the film opens with a piece of, like, Super 8 footage of this family of 4 being murdered. You know, they're all wearing bags over their head, and they're slowly lifted into the air, and they suffocate and die. And that's the opening shot of the film. And it's all in Super 8, so there's no sound. You're just seeing these 4 people, like, kick and struggle, and you don't see who's murdering them. You get something like that to kick the film off, and it really kind of puts you on edge. I managed to jump probably 3 or 4 times while I was in the theater, just because there was such an effective use of the atmosphere going on, and it just hit you all of a sudden with something that was frightening or something unexpected. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. For a horror movie, it had a cool feel to it, not like anything else I'd seen recently, so that was great. Kind of a fresh take on that. It's dark, but it has some moments of levity, which is nice too. It's not completely grim, which is a problem I have with a lot of modern horror films.
But was there a torture device at some point?
The kill scenes are, you know, pretty disturbing and torturous, but they're all basically Ethan Hawke is sitting there watching footage he found of these people being murdered. So it's a little different. It's not like he's directly being tortured.
But there's no Rube Goldberg device employed at any point.
No, it doesn't take any Saw route.
Is there a psychic wearing a gas mask?
Unfortunately, no.
God damn it.
Okay, am I the only one who has to keep telling himself that Sinister isn't some weird sequel to Insidious?
It seems like it
I
should
had the
be.
same thing for a while.
No, I like the mythology they build in the movie too. It feels very different, and hopefully on a sequel they can elaborate a little bit more on it. Because I like the idea, but I kind of wish they had jumped into it a little more. It's cool too because they spend a lot of time with this main character. It's Ethan Hawke just basically walking around his house. That's like the whole movie. The whole movie takes place in this one house.
Oh, Ethan Hawke.
But he really
Walking
pulls it
around
off.
his house waiting for work.
Yeah. Like, he started off, you know, before the movie, he's a really successful author. And by the time the movie starts, he's kind of lost his 15 minutes of fame, but he's still trying to grab back onto it so he can pay off his house and, you know, be famous again. So he's got some complexion to him, and it really works because he's a lead character you care about, but he's not perfect. He can be an asshole at times. You know, there's some confliction within the guy, which is nice. A lot of horror films, you know, it's just about the blood and guts, but this time there's a real character you care about. And it's,
Bitchin'.
yeah, bitchin' exactly. Very impressed with it.
Well,
Box Office Pulp recommends Sinister.
Sinister, only a month late. All right.
okay, what's your next movie?
The next one is something you can find in theaters right now. It's Skyfall, the newest James Bond movie.
Yes. I actually just saw this movie yesterday.
Oh, it's so good.
Return to vintage Bond. God damn it.
It's great, yeah. It's got that loving homage kind of feel to it, but it still innovates and has some own unique moments. Like, the whole third act, I feel like, is really a cool twist for a Bond movie. Instead of going with world domination, Bond is fighting for something much more personal.
It all takes place on one location.
Yeah, the third act.
Yeah.
so people at home aren't getting confused.
It's all James Bond trapped underground in a box.
Ryan Reynolds is there.
He says goodbye to M. It's very tearful.
There's a snake.
Moto Dragon.
Yeah, that movie is like the best use of the Komodo dragon I've ever seen.
I love how once again we're back to the time where a James Bond movie can have a fucking Komodo dragon.
And an Aston Martin that
Yeah.
actually plays into the plot.
Yeah, people were clapping in my theater when that happened.
I had a funny experience. I was telling MB where my theater got excited when Albert Finney showed up. Like, just because it was Albert Finney.
That's
It was
pretty awesome.
really weird.
That's
That's not
amazing in
Albert
its own way.
It is, but I just didn't expect people in the audience to go, Albert Finney.
Finally.
Like with stars in their eyes.
I know my audience just was really freaking out when he's like, "Welcome to Scotland." Everyone's like, "Oh my god!" I don't know when they became big fans of Scotland, but
He's the president of Scotland.
I figured they took it as a Connery thing,
yeah,
which I kind of took it as too. It makes sense.
yeah. There's some rumors floating around that originally they were trying to make Connery jump into that role, which would.
Well, no. Mendez I just read a new interview with him yesterday actually, and he kind of cleared that up. Somebody asked him if they considered Connery for that. He said that they just like mentioned it kind of offhandedly, but the reporter took that as like they were super close to signing Connery for the role. But
Gotcha.
really the conversation kind of consisted of just, you think it'd be cool if we got, Connery for this? Yeah, but that really shouldn't happen. And that was the complete extent of the conversation.
One of the things that I really love about the movie is that, there's a big trend in Hollywood that's been around for the last few years where the reboot has become sort of prevalent. Everybody wants to go back to, sort of a fresh take on old icons. And one such movie was actually Casino Royale, which was the first Craig movie.
Mhm.
But what Skyfall does is kind of the reverse, where it resets and brings things back to the classic.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big theme throughout the movie too. Sometimes the old ways are better.
And I love that because it's like it's kind of turning its nose up at all the people that say, well, James Bond wasn't good until it was rebooted, or something like so stupid like that, which is like this film series has lasted longer than any other film series in existence, really.
And nothing will ever come even close to the Bond series again.
Yeah.
Especially with the reboot stuff these days.
Yeah, it's really nice watching it just because it embraces all those things that we really love about the older films. Like we finally have a really big villain who feels larger than life, which is something I've been missing from the last couple Bond films.
Yeah.
Albino Bardem.
Who is essentially playing the Joker.
Essentially, yeah.
And it works. Like it's the entire movie is just a love letter to the character of James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And a movie where James Bond learns to believe in James Bond, in being James Bond. It's fucking awesome.
We finally get a Bond movie that actually has a character arc for James Bond. There have been so many where he basically just shows up, someone tells him he needs to kill people for England, and he goes, well, I guess I'll do that today.
I want to see Flexo's version of a James Bond movie.
He just walks into a room and starts fighting people.
And, we can't overlook the cinematography. Roger Deakins just absolutely blew me away in theaters. I think he did a better job than any other Bond film out there just for really capturing the film.
He is the greatest cinematographer alive today, arguably.
Yeah. Like
The Shanghai sequence.
I was just thinking when they're at Scotland at the end, it just, in IMAX, I'm assuming it was pretty good in any theater, but man, it's just amazing looking at the depth they got in those hills.
God, it's such a well-shot movie.
There are so many shots where it looks like you could be looking at a painting in a museum or something. It's just, the composition's perfect, the lighting, everything. The guy really nails it. I'm going to be bummed out if he doesn't do the next Bond film.
I know. I hope so. I hope Mendez comes back, too.
Same here, actually. I would appreciate him coming for another take on it.
Rarely does a director do back-to-back Bond movies, though.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's always great to see a movie where you can tell the director really loves the material he's working with. And I think that was the case here. Like Mendes is clearly just someone who wanted to do a James Bond movie. He wasn't interested in doing like, okay, this is the serious James Bond movie, or this is the adventurous James Bond movie, or this is like just putting it in a box. It was just James Bond. It was everything great about that character encapsulated in one film, and I love movies like that.
And modernized without, reinventing the wheel of it.
Yeah.
Which is what I was kind of like been crying about a bit lately. And it did it like in spades, exactly what I had in mind.
So yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen Skyfall yet, everyone at home, just go do it now. Break into a theater if you're watching this at midnight. Just go find a copy. It's fantastic.
Fucking watch it right. I had an awesome. I don't think I mentioned to MB. I had an awesome moment while watching Skyfall. I was so into it, and it was so like a Bond movie to me that when he went to Shanghai, and it was the Shanghai like skyline, all modern. I went, well, that's weird. Oh wait, this takes place in the present day.
Oh yeah.
I had a moment where I thought it was a period piece because it felt so much like a Bond movie to me. I thought it was a period piece.
It does feel timeless in a way.
It does, and England's old, so there you go.
Box office pulp recommends Skyfall.
You know this.
I wish you had done that the entire time.
Yeah, god damn it.
We'll have to go back and re-edit it now.
Yeah, we'll just re-record the entire thing. Hello, welcome to Box Office Pulp.
Just redo. Going with that idea, the next movie on my list is Looper. I don't know, was I the only one who got to see that one?
I was dying to see it.
I want to see Looper so fucking bad.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay, I'll steer away from spoilers because it doesn't impact your enjoyment of the film. But I will say it's just a really cool twist on sci-fi conventions. Mainly time travel. There's some other ones I don't want to spoil because they don't reveal a lot of them in the trailer. But I like that they go into time travel without bothering to explain it because they basically just say it's going to make problems. So just deal with the fact that there is time travel and there is the mob in control of it.
I appreciate when movies do things like that.
Why doesn't my cell phone work? Magic.
Like Bruce Willis actually says at one point, like, look, I don't want to tell you about time travel because we're just going to end up making graphs and charts and we're going to end up spending all day arguing about it. So just fucking leave it alone. And it's Bruce Willis, so you go, okay.
I like the idea that Bruce Willis can actually describe time travel.
Let me tell you about time travel. Charles a flux capacitor.
And one of the things about the movie that seems so interesting is that it essentially stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Just visually and just acting-wise.
Yeah, that was on my notes. It's fascinating to me because the makeup is obviously there. Some people find it a little distracting. I think it did a good job bridging it because they look very similar. It's not just the mannerisms. They look like they could be old and future versions of each other. So the makeup's a huge part of that, and the acting, obviously. Bruce Willis pretty much just does Bruce Willis. But Joseph Gordon-Levitt does a great job looking like a young Bruce Willis. So together they make a pretty good pair, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's really making a big impression this year. I didn't see Premium Rush, I guess, so I can't judge that, but he does a great job here.
The bicycling movie.
Looks good to me. Looks good.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's becoming, like, one of the best actors in Hollywood.
He's the new Leo.
Yeah.
He's the new James Franco.
Hey. There's
Nobody
only
is
one
James
Franco.
But old James Franco is still around.
Who will Franco sleep with next?
Make out, make out, make out.
Is Emily Blunt super hot in the movie?
Yeah, she's
It's
kind of got like a
Blunt.
farm girl thing going on.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I should tell you because you're going to be surprised otherwise. Like, maybe disappointed. A majority of the film takes place basically in a house in the middle of nowhere. Like,
Right on.
you start
It's
the
an
movie.
action movie.
Yeah, well, you start the movie off like in this futuristic version of, New York or something like that. So you get this really interesting, almost RoboCop kind of setting for a town. And, it's very lawless. The mob controls everything. And then eventually, in the second act, you move away from that. It's very unexpected because it takes on a very different feel from that point. And some people weren't expecting it, but it still works.
Right on.
Yeah, Rian Johnson is becoming, like, one of my favorite directors now.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen Brothers Bloom?
Oh, I love Brothers Bloom and Brick.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys seen those?
No, I really need to watch Brooke.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen
Game
it
plus
yet.
years.
Rick is like the most Mike movie ever.
I keep hearing that. That's why I want to watch it, but I just keep like not almost watching it, but not. But
And the
it's been
brother-
described to me as a Mike movie
I
every
think it's
single
still
time.
on Netflix.
It is.
And The Brothers
Conversely,
Bloom is a movie.
Conversely, Sinister is also a very Mike movie.
Well, you know, it has Ethan.
Mike is the villain in Sinister.
And The Brothers Bloom is a movie in a very similar vein. It's like an old school Jack Lemmon caper movie that just happens to be set in modern times. That's very enjoyable.
Yeah, Brothers Bloom is fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, try and find it wherever you can. It's worthwhile. You got your Ruffalo, you got your, whatever the fuck else is in the movie.
It's got Keira Knightley in a very good role. She's adorable. If you don't fall in love with Keira Knightley in that movie, then you have no soul.
Great abs. Anyway, the list.
All right, we're down here. Final movie, Cabin in the Woods. This was a little bit of a weird choice just for the fact that it's been delayed for so long. Technically, it was filmed like 2 years ago, but whatever, came out this year.
Don't fucking argue semantics.
It's too late. I already said it. I can't take it back.
God damn it.
Anyways, I always love the commentaries in movies, so this movie was just perfect for me. And it's a little bit of a loving homage to, Cabin in the Woods type films, but it's got so much else going on. It felt like everything I could ever want in a horror film stuck together.
And there's a merman.
And, oh man, the third act is just completely nuts, which I loved.
It becomes the horror movie version of The Avengers.
It's got every monster out there. Spoilers. But yeah, it's hilarious. It can be a little frightening to some people. I know I'm kind of desensitized. The whole thing just really worked for me. It's right up my alley. This is like the perfect movie for me. Plus, it was kind of cool too because, you start off with the stereotypical characters and they transcend, the cliches. Or a couple go the other way where they start off like unique spins on stock characters and then become, the standard, like the jock or the scholar. So it's kind of cool to see that too.
Yeah, whenever I was watching the beginning, I was thinking, okay, even though these characters are essentially horror movie stereotypes, I would still watch this movie. Like, if it was just these characters going into a cabin in the woods and getting killed by a slasher, it would still be a pretty good movie.
Yeah, like the movie is written with a lot of intelligence, which is fantastic. Normally horror films are, kind of slapped together. There's a lot of them that just don't bring anything new to the table. And this movie starts off like it might be that way, but there's enough interesting little quirks that you realize that's not going to be the case. And then stuff completely goes off the chain by the end of the film.
And then you're introduced to Extreme Hemsworth.
Yeah, the whole cast in here is just fantastic. I don't know. I can't really think of anything I can complain about in the movie. I love the entire thing.
Hero,
Yes.
don't hold back.
I'm just imagining myself on a motorcycle. Just being crushed by an invisible wall.
It's the perfect death for you, really. But yeah, Cabin in the Woods is fucking awesome.
It's great. Every time I watch the movie, I have a different audience with me, and the reactions to that death have been different each time. Like, it alternates, I should say. The first time I watched it, people forgot that wall was there, so they were surprised. Second time I watched it, everyone remembered the wall was there, so they're like, no, I knew it. Third time I watched it, everyone forgot the wall was there, and they were surprised. It just keeps flip-flopping back and forth. It's really weird.
I still find it weird they set up the wall at all.
It'd almost be like a cheat if they didn't.
I guess it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of deal.
Yeah.
Just gotta do what you have to.
Also, the scene when they make out with the wolf is surprisingly tense. Like, every time I watch it, I just expect something horrible to happen.
Yeah.
It really is.
And hot. You heard me.
She was a Power Ranger once.
Oh yeah, you guys know that the blonde was a Power Ranger
I did not.
in which one was it?
I think it was Samurai or whatever.
Yeah, it might have been Samurai Force or the Jungle one or something. I think it was Samurai Force. She was the Yellow Ranger, I think.
Huh.
Making this
Interesting.
the second movie in which a former Power Ranger shows her breasts.
And it won't be the last.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, power boobs.
Why is 80s guy in this film?
Why wouldn't he be?
Touche.
And that's sexy 80s guy to you.
You're right.
It's boopin' time.
And I guess one last note on the movie. God, if you love monsters, this thing's fantastic. The creature design and the number of monsters here is just stunning.
Once
The
again,
family
Fornicus,
from The Strangers are in it.
still my favorite, and shot exactly the same.
Yep. I'm personally a fan of the werewolf, just like they pulled off a really good practical effects werewolf.
It's a really awesome werewolf. It was kind of shocking.
There's
Right.
Kmart Pinhead.
God, Fornicus, Lord of Bondage and Pain. I'm still pissed that fucking Clover from Cloverfield was not in there.
They couldn't have fit him.
It
could've
could be
just
like
made a small
tiny
version of it.
like a little yappy dog.
They put the tank from Left 4 Dead in there, so.
Or what about just one of the things that comes off of Clover?
Yeah, one of the fucking ticks.
Parasites.
Or Lizzie Kaplan.
It's
Yeah,
possible
she's
it's in the
fucking
background
awesome.
somewhere. Also, going back to the
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead thing, at one point they had a tie-in planned where you could play a level of Left 4 Dead designed to be like Cabin in the Woods. But because MGM went bankrupt, the whole deal went belly up, which is one of the most frustrating things I've heard.
But then MGM was fucked, so, yeah.
Yeah. But I guess it's okay because
I've
it
really
ended
gotta
up
see
making
this
Skyfall
movie.
better. Yeah, I'm sorry, we probably said too much. Don't listen to what we're
I've
saying
been-
anymore, but
It's like nearly 4 a.m. I'm barely awake, so I've missed everything.
oh,
I
fantastic.
died several minutes ago.
Now it's a competition to see who cares about the podcast the least.
I care.
Oh,
I'm the life model decoy of Mike.
So yeah, 2012 is really a great year for movies, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff I love, so a lot of things didn't make the list. The Avengers, obviously. But yeah, hard to pick just 5 from this year.
You picked Extreme Avengers.
Extreme!
Yeah.
Alright.
So since it is Thanksgiving, I say we just list off, we don't talk about the movies, but just list off some movies we're thankful for.
Hero, you go first.
Oh,
I
wait,
feel
you
where
didn't know
it's-
we were doing this?
No! Ah.
Oh, well, fucking see how much you care.
He's scrambling for a pencil right now.
Yeah, listen to this fucktard, audience. That's how much he cares about you and your entertainment.
Are you not entertained?
Wait. We should not set him up as Maximus. They're just going to turn against us.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad idea. God damn it.
This
Well,
podcast
now
is
one of
turning
us
into
has to
Gladiator.
die.
I feel weird saying I'm thankful for this movie, but I am very thankful for Excision.
Right
And
on.
tampon sniffing.
Ugh. Keep listening stuff. I don't want that image in my
Literally,
head.
that's your entire list?
No, I thought we were going to rotate. I'm very thankful for the Avengers, and even though I haven't seen it, thankful for Skyfall. Because Campy Bond is the best Bond.
To be fair, it's not Campy Bond, but
Well, not campy,
really.
but crazy Bond. Bond where shit happens.
Fair enough.
you're so tired. Go on.
It's funny because it's 4:30 in the morning.
The best
Go on.
kind of funny.
What are the movies you thankful for, man? Come on.
Cough him up.
I will always be thankful for the never-ending story.
Oh.
I am thankful. Shut up.
Sorry.
I am thankful for the abominable Dr. Phibes, which will always be my favorite Vincent Price movie. I am thankful for Army of Darkness, the one movie I will never grow tired of watching.
Amen.
I'm thankful for Metropolis and its 8 different versions, and for the final version, which will be revealed during the apocalypse. Most of all, I'm thankful for you guys.
Aww.
Oh, you made it gay. MB?
And I'm going to make it gayer. I am thankful for The Empire Strikes Back, which will always be a classic, no matter who you are. I am thankful for The Terminator, which, in my opinion, is one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. And I'm sure that opinion is not very unique, but I cling to it. I am thankful for Captain America, the First Avenger, just because it proves that period superhero movies can be done and done well. I am thankful for, I'm struggling here.
Batman.
Batman. Always
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
Batman.
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 I'm thankful for Sherlock Holmes, the 2009 Sherlock Holmes, because I don't know, that's another one of those movies that is rewatchable enough for me. But most of all, I'm thankful for none of you.
Way to make it straight.
I respect that.
Mike, I think you're up. What are you thankful for? Let me guess.
Thankful-
Nothing.
Hey, my idea. I'm thankful for Return of the Living Dead, because it's party time.
Uh-oh, Trash is taking her clothes off again.
I'm thankful for Apocalypse Now, because fuck are people crazy. I'm thankful for Big Trouble in Little China.
Hmm?
Magic. Blackest magic.
I'm thankful for John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes.
Yep.
Bum, bum.
Bum, bum.
Dum.
And of course, I'm thankful for Jaws, because we're going to need a bigger boat. I'm also thankful for Highlander.
Yes.
Batman.
That could be only one.
I am in disguise. It's the only Kirkin line I can do. I'm thankful for Batman. I'm thankful for Spaceballs. I'm thankful for Appleseed, Ex Machina, Blade Runner, and Casablanca.
Nice. Nice.
Thank you.
Here's looking at you, Mike.
Well, I am thankful for the Warriors. I'm thankful for Blade Runner, even though it's already been said. Thankful for Coraline. Thankful for Scream 1, 2, and 4. I'm thankful for Ghostbusters 1 and 2. King Kong, the Peter Jackson version. I'm thankful for Yojimbo. And I'm thankful for The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
What do we do with our dynamite?
Alright, well I think that's enough being sentimental for one day. I think we're gonna call... Oh wait, I forgot to do the promo. Go listen to our other shit.
I want that to be our new advertising. Go listen to our other shit. And
You can... Yeah, we're on Facebook. Go find us there. That's a wrap.
sleep now.
And like that, he's gone.